Good morning. You're listening to Baton Rouge Labor Radio. This is Neil Miller. This is the AFL-CIO sponsored Baton Rouge Building and Construction Trade Labor Radio Show. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Well, good morning, Mr. Ernest Stevens. How are you doing this morning?
I'm absolutely wonderful, sir.
Good deal. Ernest, this is WTQT 106.1 FM, and I am proud to say that we have Mr. Ernest Stevens with the AFL-CIO, and this is the AFL-CIO Baton Rouge Labor Radio, and glad to have you on this morning, Ernest.
Good to be with you, Neil.
How's everything going? Y'all gearing up for your session, your next session? When is your next session, Ernest?
It isn't until March, Neil. The exact date slips me right now, but it's March of 2015.
Well, I know you're calling in because we need to start talking about some of the local elections we have coming up, and what we need to do, how we need to do it, and just all of that. Let's talk about a few of the elections coming up, Ernest. What's in your mind? I know they're all important, but which one should we really be looking at?
We should be looking, Neil. I was thinking, like you said, at all of them. Locally, here in the Baton Rouge area, we've got some school board races that are going to be real important to us. Collective bargaining is a big thing for us, and the East Baton Rouge Federation of Teachers, LFT, they tried for years to get collective bargaining, and they can't. They always fall short. Some of the powers to be have decided that the school board was ineffective because it was too large, and they decided they wanted to cut back from, I think, 11 members to 9. We don't know how that's going to affect us. I don't see the size being a difference in how effective the school board could be. But we've got this Lane Grisby character again putting his money behind candidates that would be anti-labor candidates.
Is he? I thought he just did that with the Betsy board. So he's doing it with the local school board also.
He's doing it with the local school board also.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, he tried last time, and he's trying again this year. So we've got to make sure that when we get out to vote, we vote for candidates that are going to especially support collective bargaining, but candidates that are, once elected, will have our kids and our kids' future at heart, not just their own interests and the interests of Lane Grisby and people like him.
Well, Ernest, you and I, and a lot of the people in our circle, we talk about different issues all the time, and I guess we just take it for granted about, you just said something, candidates that support the collective bargaining agreement. Let's talk about what is a collective bargaining agreement and why we, or why, not why we think, why it is good for the average working people of Louisiana.
Well, it's good in a number of ways, Neil, but I think the most important thing is to have an organization with some type of leadership that can speak for a group of employees. I mean, the number one thing is those employees are out there to make a living, but they also want a decent wage, they want health care, they want a retirement at the end of their careers. And they've got to have somebody to stand up for them. They can't always do it themselves.
And that's the coup de grace of the whole thing, that they can't do it by themselves, because some people might be sitting there thinking, well, why do I need somebody else to help me out? You have an organization that is monitored or owned, or what's the right word I'm looking for? You've got a group of people that really direct. They elect the spokesperson, and they direct that spokesperson to go in there and negotiate for them. And that's what a collective bargaining agreement is about. You don't have one person going in there with his own mindset on what they think is what the workers need. The workers, that's why you have union meetings, and go ahead.
Well, everybody, Neil, if you look at attorneys, they've got the Bar Association. Doctors have the Medical Association. School boards, they've got school board associations. They don't call them unions, but they're organizations that represent the people that work under them. And it's the same thing. They pay dues to be represented.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the same thing that you and Lewis and Julie and a group of other people that are with the labor movement fight every session. And the ones that you're over there, that the mouthpiece at the session is they're lobbyists for big organizations that are over there trying to capitalize on on the government. So when you have a group of people that can stand behind one another and they believe in the same issues, and that's why they form a union. That's why unions were formed years ago. And it's not that we just want candidates that believe in the collective bargaining agreement. We need candidates that will stand up for the collective bargaining agreement also.
And that's exactly right, Neil. We need candidates to be elected that are all on the same page and believe in the rights of those people that they're elected to represent. And if we can do that, we can be successful. So that's why it's very important that we get out and vote in those school board races. Our kids suffer. We don't. I don't lose a thing if I've got a school board member that's not doing what he or she was elected to do when it comes to our kids. But our kids lose.
No, and I agree with you. And I mean, and that's something else that why we need elected officials that aren't scared of their job and they believe in what they're doing. You're just not seeing that as much as you used to, and it's because they're, a lot of them are scared, and one of the things they're scared of is this governor we got. If something doesn't go his way, he reappoints somebody, or not reappoints. He takes them off a board and puts somebody else in their place until that, my friend, is not fair, negotiations or believing in the system. The system says that you have a collective group that collaborate with one another, and they come up with the just means to help the majority of the people or everybody. And when you get a dictator like we have as a governor, who has political aspirations about running for president, which I think that's the biggest, I don't know, I think it's the biggest joke I've ever read or heard him thinking that he would make a good president, or people that think he would make a good president.
Well, there's no way, Neil. I mean, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but from what I see, there's no way he could be a president. No. I won't even call him a governor. I call him the guy that sits in the governor's office. Yeah, there was an article in the paper the other day, and I don't remember who it was. A pro-general guy. I think it was his campaign manager, to be honest with you, talking about all his accomplishments. I don't think he's had any accomplishments. Everything that he has tried to do and everything he has done, the court system has thrown out. And one of the key issues in these elections, let's go with Mary Landrieu, and you just mentioned about Lane Grigsby with the school board, but let's go with Mary Landrieu, and she's in a tough battle. And one of the things that they keep throwing on Mary is, I'm gonna tell you, it's like Jindal. Something happens. What do you want? What's he want to do? He wants to do a study, set up a task force, and then blame Obama. And that's what they're doing with Mary. And
Bobby Jindal, I agree with you. Bobby Jindal, he turned down the $16 billion in the federal money to expand Medicaid coverage.
But he hasn't given you anything to show that he's got a better plan or he's got something better for the citizens of Louisiana. And I don't call it Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act may not be the best thing out there, but it's better than we've ever had.
Oh yeah, and it's and I'm gonna tell you, you got right here in Louisiana, you got 900,000 people that don't have any kind of health coverage. And he turned $16 billion down. His thing for success is we should be measuring success by reducing the number of people on public assistance. In a way, I agree with him that you measure success by getting people jobs and get them working and all that, making them a great part of society. But also the ones that need help, that's the ones you should be helping too, Ernest.
Well, there are some folks out there that truly need help, Neil. They may not be the career, they may not be the folks that you look at that say, okay, I'm going to seek public assistance, and this is all I want to do. There are some folks that don't think like that truly fall on hard times and need just that little help for a short time until they can get back on their feet and go to work, make a decent living, afford health care, afford to take care of their kids and do the things they need to do. Those are legitimate folks that need help. And he's just taking all of that for granted and put everybody in the same boat. And just refused to help the citizens of Louisiana while he flies all around the country making appearances for this governor and appearances for this governor. And it's my understanding that when he goes these places, he's only going for the recognition that he can get. It has absolutely nothing to do with being the governor of the state of Louisiana.
None. But back on Mary's race, I mean, I'd like to also throw in, I do think Charles Showalter with the Union Edge that we played the first hour. I was listening to a little of, I listened to the first hour, and on that, the Koch brothers, during the past election, past presidential election, let me back up. The past presidential election, they were throwing out figures, and one of the things was unions collectively across America raised $200 million for the presidential election. That was all the unions across America. Okay, all the brothers and sisters in every different aspect as far as all the different unions. The Koch brothers, now that was $200 million with all the unions and the union brethren. The Koch brothers spent $400 million just with the two brothers.
Well, that's absolutely true, Neil. And talking about Senator Landrieu's race. Traditionally, her races have been close. I think this one is probably as close as they get. But when you look at the Koch brothers, who represent an organization, I don't want to say represent, but are members of an organization, probably the key sponsors of ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council. That's where the money is coming from. But when you look at the money that they contribute, the money that they spend, we don't have those dollars, but we have bodies. No one has ever stuck a dollar in a voting machine. The key is rallying our folks, getting them out to vote. That brings me to the upcoming election. November 4th is election day. That's a Tuesday. Now, we've got quite a few people especially the trades that are going to be working on November 4th Tuesday. But there's early voting that starts October 21st and it runs through October 28th with one Saturday included in there. It's going to be very important that we get our folks out to vote on November 4th, and if they can't make it, see where they can make it there, take advantage of the early voting.
Well,
especially that Saturday. We need to be lined up around those polling places on that Saturday.
And didn't we have, but I don't think they were successful. They did try to change the hours of the voting. Isn't it from 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning to 8 o'clock p.m.?
Yeah, those are the hours.
All right. But they were trying to shorten the hours up. I remember they had legislation talking about doing it, shortening the hours up.
Right. That was an effort to change the hours, but this election will still be the same time.
Okay, and it is, Ernest. It is very, very important that we do get out the votes, and it's not get out the votes. You know, Lewis made a very good comment to me. You know, or to the listeners, we have a CLC, and Ernest is very, very involved in that, and it's the Central Labor Council, and it's all your unions combined, and we're talking about, Ernest, you got representatives from every, not just the trade unions, the construction trade unions, but you have the teachers and the firefighters.
We've got the teacher organization, we've got the police organization, we've got the firefighters, we've got steel workers, we've got an organization, it's a railroad organization called Maintenance of the Way. So we've got, I mean, it's not just a thing that we cater to construction workers, the building trades. We've got all of the unions involved.
And collectively, and let's be honest with the listeners and ourselves. Collectively, we've got a lot of different egos in these rooms as far as different crafts and different people that are in there. And when I say egos, maybe differences of opinion would be a better word for it. But you know what? They collectively interview all of these candidates because I'm occasionally I'm a part of it. I was very into it a few years ago, and we've had this merger thing going on with the Lake Charles area. So I've had to back off of it this election cycle, but it's really entertaining as far as I'm concerned, because you get there and you get to listen to the candidates' views, and you get to ask them questions on how they stand on some issues. And even as a group of organized labor people, we realize that they're not going to be with us 100% of the time on every issue. But we weigh that, and you would rather have somebody that's going to be with you, on the majority or sometimes, than somebody that's going to be against you all the time when it comes to to our issues.
That's exactly right, Neil. And when those candidates come to the central body, they talk about themselves, they talk about what they've done, they talk about what they intend to do, and the delegates to that central body sit down and listen at that, and like you said, they make the decision as to who we support and who we're not going to support. When those delegates make that decision, they take it back to their union. And the things that the unions do, to give you an example, I went to a union meeting on Tuesday night. They had letters already printed and ready to go to every member of that local with the endorsed candidates from the central body. Also, there were some amendments on there that they included in the letter. But all of our locals do that. Not only do they send letters, they've got locals like your local, for example. Y'all have the advantage of having a robocaller, so you make calls to your membership. And it's a big thing. If we get out and vote, we make a difference.
Oh, and I agree 100%. And the thing is, I mean, we're sending out letters and things as far as candidates that we've endorsed. This is some time staking. A lot of thought process has gone into this, and it's not that we're telling our members how to vote. We're just telling them, hey, look. Y'all elected us to lead, and we have rank and file members that are coming straight off a job site, coming over there, working 10, 12 hours a day. They're coming over there and being part of it. So it's not just the union leadership that is, interviewing these candidates. It's a rank and file, too. So, I mean, we have a great thing. Ernest, I got a little surprise for you. We got somebody that's fixing to say hello to you.
Good morning. Ernest Johnson here. How you doing?
Hey, Dr. Johnson, how you doing this morning?
Doing great. I just walked in, and I like what you're saying about getting out and voting.
Yeah.
Well, it means our survival, Dr. Johnson. If we don't get out and vote, we don't have room to complain, number one.
Well,
there's a saying that Dr. Johnson, Neil may have never heard this, but you have, and it's especially to the African Americans that are listening. There's a saying that says, hands that once pick cotton now pick our leaders.
Right. Correct.
And we've got to get everyone out and get them out to vote.
And Dr. Johnson, give the listeners, and I'm sure all of them already know, but give the listeners a little of your background.
Well, I'm president of the NAACP in Louisiana, and been in that position too long, that volunteer position. But I've been there for about 19 years, and member of the National Board of Directors, NAACP National Board of Directors, attorney, been practicing law for about 39 years. And I came into the NAACP as a young lawyer many years ago, helping Miss Rupert Richardson out. And I fell in love with the organization, just fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. But I think now, where we are at this point in our journey through life on Earth, is that we must get the average voter to become a habitual voter. People who go vote have an economic interest in it. When the country was first started, the property owners, the landowners, were the ones who were voting. And I think we had to come to, in this election, and elections to follow, there was one thing to register voters. After 1965 Voting Rights Act, there was a big push to register voters. Joe Delpit became one of the first black elected officials in East Baton Rouge Parish. Wasn't many years ago. But I think where we are now is that, it just doesn't make any sense that 20% of the registered voters in Louisiana go on a regular basis and vote. We call them chronic voters. Why can't there be 50, 60%? Because people feel like their voice don't make a difference. Voter apathy, the power structure do what it can to suppress that vote because they know, like Brother Ernest said, that the vote can change things. There was no difference between Mitt Romney and, say, myself at the poll. He was worth billions of dollars, but we only had one vote each. Yeah. And everybody cast that vote. He thought he had won, but the majority of the voters say, no, we don't want you, Mitt, and he lost. And so if we could just get that message out, I know the people who listen to this radio station in Baton Rouge, Shreveport, and Alexandria and Monroe are going to go do the right thing, but we need to reach out and touch somebody and just tell them, voting should be a habit, like eating is a habit, basically. We eat 3 meals a day for what reason, I don't know. We smoke, we drink. So if we can make voting a habit, we can change this state, we can change this society, we can change this world. So I'm encouraged to kind of keep pushing people to go vote, and we got to get that voter turnout up. We just got to do it. I think we start in 2 weeks with early voting, October 21st through the 28th, I think, or 24th or something like that.
It's 24th.
The 24th. Yes. So we got to push that week, and then we got to come back on a Tuesday, which is a work day. But we got to get folk out on November 4th to vote. So we'll be doing whatever we can here at this radio station and throughout the state.
Dr. Johnson, why do you think people think they're because I have, I tell you what, I got somebody near and dear to me, my son.
Yes.
My oldest boy. And it's like you don't force somebody to go vote. You
Right.
don't force it. You think that you educate them enough when they're kids and coming up and all that, and I had a conversation with him a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, and it really tore my heart out that he made this comment that he didn't think his vote counted.
Yeah, and you're going to hear that. That's part of the suppression. See the words. A lot of people. Remember when they used to have something called brainwashing?
Yes.
And
yes.
say, well, this person's brainwashed, and then they stopped using the word brainwash. You don't really hear that too much. It was really around military action when you went into prison camps and stuff like that. Well, this programming is the same way. Whether we got programming on the radio, programming on TV, the young people really are programmed through this internet, Twitter, and all that stuff. And what's happening is there's really not an educational piece going on. When we did the town hall meetings about 2 or 3 weeks ago throughout the state, I was surprised to learn that civics is no longer a mandatory course in high school. I mean, I remember, and you probably recall, when we had to take civics.
Yes.
Now, of course, we learned about democracies and communism and what that was all about, and really it might not have been relevant because we weren't really learning about local government, how that operates, who were our local government officials, what is the reason for voting, so if you're not getting it in the schools, it's not being taught, because first of all, civics is no longer a mandatory course, and we should push for civics to become a mandatory course in Louisiana. And once civics is a mandatory course, then we should look at what are they teaching. We don't need to know about communism and Red China and Russia, but we do need to know about the governments, the government of Baton Rouge, the government of Louisiana. What is the function of the state legislature? Because what we discovered throughout the town hall meetings was just about every problem that a person has, we go right back to the vote. We could open up the phone lines right now and ask people, what problem do you have? And what's going to happen? Everything that's discussed is going to go right back to the vote. Even when we talk about jobs. If we don't have the right political officials in office, they're not interested in bringing the right type of jobs to the community. So people don't have jobs. If we don't have the right type of political officials in office, then the education programs get tore up, like this state is being torn up. Why? Because that voter who would make a difference say, well, I'm not going to go vote because it doesn't make a difference. My comment is, when you don't vote, it makes a difference, because you then allow the power structure to do what they think is necessary only on economic basis. I was talking with one of these Republicans, and I don't take sides, I don't guess, but I was talking to one of the Republicans, businessman. He said, I'm involved in school board races all over the state. I said, well, why would you be involved in school board races? He said, because those local school board members make economic decisions as to who sell the books or who buy the books, the school buses, where you buy the school buses from, who drive those school buses. So this is what our people have to understand. We live in a capitalistic society. That's why labor is very important. That's why labor unions are very important, because that is the check and balance of businesses and profit, because we do live in a capitalistic society. This would be taught in civics. We say, what is a capitalistic society? That's something we knew about a long time ago. The capitalistic society is driven by money. You have to have unions of laborers in order to fight back that drive for profit, because as you know, if you don't have labor unions in there negotiating for laborers, then the big businesses will drive labor costs down in order to increase profit. So there are certain elements of society that I believe, not just one course of civics, but I think if we taught civics as much as we teach everything else, by the time that young person get to be 18, they'll go register to vote.
And I didn't know they didn't teach civics anymore.
No, I mean, they got it as an elective, and you can take it if you want. But, when we came through, we had to take civics.
Coach Archie was mine. I remember that. Coach Archie, he was very good. I remember that. Well, I'm going to tell you, I really believe that, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with this, but this election coming up in November is very, very important. And Ernest and I were talking about, like with my membership, and I'm going to give you a prime example, and I know you've seen more of this than I have, but we had a little local election in the little city I live in.
Okay.
And we were staying neutral on it.
Yeah.
We were staying neutral on it. And the Thursday before the election, and I don't want to throw out some names, but the Thursday before the election, there's this flyer that comes out. Boy, my wife didn't even want to show it to me.
Oh.
And the flyer, they got it off the internet. It was somewhere they had a picket line up, from the past, from years ago.
Okay.
You can get that off the internet.
Sure. Right.
And then they got Local 198, so it was misrepresenting, what this thing was, because it was none of my people on this, but it had my organization under it. And this candidate and like I said, we were staying neutral. And so, it was an anti-union flyer that came out.
Okay.
So we did a robocall and we did a phone bank. We only had a day to do it.
Okay.
And we won the election.
Great. Praise God.
Yes.
Praise God. And it's time out for
can
dirty
make
politics.
A difference.
We can.
Yeah,
we
make a
can.
difference.
We can. And what they try to do is they know that we will react to things. We try to stay neutral. We're good people, right?
Yeah.
We're godly people. So what happens is the theory is just try to keep it calm and don't do anything. But when they do something to provoke, that's when our people respond. But we got to start responding on a regular basis without being provoked, because we can make a difference. We can change the Louisiana. 30% of the voters in the state of Louisiana voted in the governor's election last term. That's statewide, 30%. So just think if 60% had voted and didn't like Bobby Jindal. Just think of where we'd be today. Louisiana, we can make a difference in this state if good people of like minds get together and decide we want to make a change. And I'm praying. I'm not just working. I'm working now, but I'm praying that God will move people to do the right thing and participate in this system, because I'd like to see that change before I leave here. I really would. And I think that it's there. We just got to wake the sleeping giant.
And
I got some water running, too.
And you're absolutely right.
Ernest, good talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Ernest, what a surprise, huh? That's a good surprise.
Oh, yeah, and wonderful. But Neil, let me just tell you about Dr. Johnson and NAACP before he leaves.
He's got water running. He had to run out.
I was able to attend the NAACP convention a couple of weeks ago. And they do things not only for their organization, but at their convention, they had the veterans and good talking to you, Doc. They had the Veterans Administration to come out and set up a trail in front of the convention hall to help assist veterans that were participating in the convention that may have had issues or questions that had been unanswered and needed some type of help. They had a van to take folks to get flu shots. I mean, things that you would never think of doing on your own, but these people did it. And it's a testament to the work that the NAACP does in the community.
Hey, Ernest, you got a radio on?
No, I have you, but I don't have the radio.
Okay, all right.
I'm using my headset.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I thought you had the radio on. But anyhow, I'm gonna tell you, I see them in action, and they're a great organization. And I'm gonna tell you, Ernest, we and Dr. Johnson just made the comment that only 30% of the voters voted in the governor's race. Of the registered voters. Not to mention, if we get out more registered voters, we can make a difference. I mean, it's when I made the comment about they got people that don't think that their vote matters. I want to scream out, just scream at the top of my lungs. Their vote can and will make a difference if they'll just take the time to go vote.
Well, near right across the river in West Baton Rouge Parish, I think it was the last election. That was an election that was won by only 3 votes.
Oh, I forgot about that. You're right.
Down in Ascension Parish, the mayor down in Ascension Parish a few years ago was elected by 2 votes. They actually reran the election because the guy that lost protested. Now, he didn't win. It was still close in the end when they did the second election. But 3 votes made the difference.
Well, I'm gonna tell you hey, that even happens with our union leadership. they had an election a couple years ago. I say a couple years ago. It was I don't know 5-6 years ago. At one of the locals right here in Louisiana, at one of the pipe fitters locals, and the current business manager at that time won by 2 votes. So if it would have been one vote would have went the other way, then it would have been a tie, and they would have had to redone the whole thing again.
Right.
So I mean, it's I mean, one vote can make a difference, and it does make a difference. And we've got like I said, it's not just with Mary Landrew. I mean, they've got a new ad on TV that and it's hard because for every one of Mary's ads, it looks like you're seeing. I'm not going to say her opponent's name, but for every one of Mary's ads, it looks like you're seeing 5 or 6 anti-Mary ads. But it does have Have you seen the one where it says got holes in what he's saying about the border patrol? Cassidy. Let's say his name. Cassidy voted against the border patrol, and he said the people coming across the border aren't really a threat. But yet they're talking about Mary, and like I said, they take little excerpts out of stuff, different speeches and stuff, and
they put those spots together to benefit them, and that's where we've got to be able to look at them. We've got to be able to understand the truth for ourselves and not be fooled by those spots, like you say, where they take those little clips out and put them together to benefit what they to make them say what they want them to say. In other words.
Well, and that is, and that again, there we go. We were talking about the CLC a while ago, the Central Labor Council. That you are big time involved in, and I want to personally thank you for doing that because the listeners don't know this doesn't happen. I mean, this isn't a 9 to 5 part of Ernest's day. This is a part of Ernest's day after the 5 o'clock that he does on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. I think y'all interviewed 40 something candidates. And then
we did interviews,
and that was in a 2-3 day period.
Wednesday night was the first night that we did it. Wednesday night, our last interview was scheduled for 9:45.
The last one, and y'all have been interviewing candidates for the past 3-4 weeks.
Well, we've been talking to folks for a couple of weeks, but we actually did the on-site interviews where they came and sat down and talked to us the Wednesday and Thursday after Labor Day.
Okay. And so the process is, you have candidates that come in there.
Right.
And
what we do, the process is we have a committee from the Central Labor Council, from the CLC. We invite candidates in. We talk to them, tell them about our issues, and they tell us what they've done or what they can do or what they'd like to see done based on what they see, or what they say. We, in turn, make recommendations to the full body of the CLC.
But Ernest,
it brings those recommendations to the body.
Ernest, let me stop you right there. I don't want the listeners, because an average politician tells you what you want to hear. Ernest isn't telling you that they'll come in there and they listen to what the politicians have to say, and they also ask Ernest and them ask questions, but then they go one step further and they do a little background work on that to make sure that his answers are jiving to what he is saying. So
well, we look at them closely, especially in the case of an incumbent. An incumbent has a record that we can look at. Now, a person that's coming in and running for office for the first time, if he's been doing things in the community or around the state, we can look at that. But if he or she hasn't, then basically what we've got to go on is their word or recommendations from other folks in that community or that around the state. But the incumbents always have records that we can look at. And those are the things we use to make our decisions.
Well,
and this isn't just something, we talked about the CLC, this isn't just something that happens here in the city of Baton Rouge. We've got a CLC in Shreveport. For the Shreveport area, we've got one in Lake Charles, we've got one in St. Tammany,
New Orleans, Alexandria.
New Orleans, and Thibodeau.
What about Alexandria?
Alexandria, there's one in, no, there is one in I'm sorry, there's one in Monroe. That's
Okay.
the one I forgot.
Okay.
And there's one in Alexandria.
Okay. Do y'all have anything in the Lafayette area or the Baton Rouge and Lake Charles area?
There was one in the Lafayette area, but that area is in the process of being combined with the Baton Rouge Central body.
Right.
The Lafayette and also down around St. James, there was one down in that area, which was going to be merged between a part of it will go to the New Orleans area and a part will come to Baton Rouge.
Well, you know,
So the state is well represented.
And that's good for the labor movement. That's good for the working men and women. And even if you don't belong to a labor movement, you know, I say this all the time, and we say this on the radio during our time slot during the legislation session. Yes, Ernest and Louis Wren and Julie Cherry do go out and try, you know, and look at issues that are precedent as far as the labor movement goes. But the majority of their work is just about making sure that the working men and women of Louisiana are treated with dignity and pride and you know, and not stepped on. And so
that's right, Neil, and that's the key. We're not there to make sure that union people are represented. The working man, every working man and woman in the state of Louisiana is not a union member, but they deserve to be represented just like anybody else. They deserve a decent wage. They deserve health care. They deserve a retirement at the end of their career. And we fight for them just as well as anybody else. It's not a thing that we only go down and fight for union members. That has never been our idea.
All right, and I got marching orders from the host earlier before I started. You are listening to WTQT 106.1. This is the AFL-CIO Baton Rouge Labor Radio. And I am Neil Miller, and I have on with me Ernest Stevens. And go ahead, Ernest. And you know who gave me my marching orders?
About Senator Landrieu's race. So there are a couple of other races that are important, and that's the 6th Congressional District race, where we've got one Democrat, Edwin Edwards, and I think 8 Republicans. And that's where Congressman Cassidy decided he wanted to go to the Senate and vacating that seat. We've got a real good opportunity to elect a Democrat to that seat. There's almost no doubt that the Democrat Edwin Edwards will be in a runoff.
Well, and Ernest, there is some people out there, and first I want to say this: the Edwin Edwards is the lone Democrat. But that's not the sole reason why we're endorsing him. I mean, I think if you look at some of these endorsements we have, they got R's at the end of their name.
Oh, we've got quite a few, especially in the judges' race. We've got quite a few.
And I mean, Edwin Edwards is. I'm gonna tell you. You know, some people. I mean, you got and I don't want to get into all the who, what, when, and all that. All I can say is read his book. You know, and I think it's a great book. And I'm not saying he was. I don't want to get into the. You know, he went through the trial.
I'll say this, Neil. He wasn't endorsed because he's the lone Democrat. He was endorsed because of his record.
Yes. Look at his past record and what he's done.
Men and women, ever since he's been an elected official in whatever capacity it was.
always left office with a surplus. He did things for the not just the working men, but for the poor people also. Ernest, look at his track record. He again, you might not approve of some of the things that people say he did, but I'm gonna tell you, look at his track record.
He has a proven record, Neil, and that's why he was endorsed. But
they're saying all that about Edwards. Why isn't anybody saying anything about Vitter? With his track record. What about David Duke? Nobody said anything about all that. When they ran for office. But now they're wanting to, chastise, Edwin Edwards, and I just think that, or not Edwin Edwards in particular. They're going after the Democratic Party for supporting him. They're going after, whoever's endorsing him or supporting him. They're going after him because, when I'm a firm believer that people make mistakes, and if he made a mistake, he did it. He did the time. Time was served. And time to move on with it.
Well, whatever his mistake was, it was his mistake, and like you said, he served his time, and the United States government says he's eligible to run, so he's eligible to run.
And if you had any candidate in that race, because there was also something in the paper about. This was from the Republicans talking about, if they listen to candidates and they're saying that, they're going to try to work things out with the Democrats, that means they're going to filibuster everything and stall everything, the gridlocking in Congress. I
saw that a couple of days ago.
One thing about Edwards is what? That's right, and he knows how to reach across the aisle, and he knows how to come up with. Yeah, look, you and I and the rest of us might not agree with what he's doing, but he's going to do. He'll work out a compromise where both parties can stomach whatever the issue is.
Yes, we don't lose by electing Edwin Edwards. We don't lose.
No.
That particular seat, we've got the opportunity to elect Jamie Mayo in the 5th Congressional District.
Yep.
And we need to try and re-elect Cedric Richmond in the 2nd Congressional District. So we've got our work cut out for us. It looks good. It looks good. We've just got to stress, and I can't stress enough, how important it is to get our people out to vote.
Well, not just our people. Our people need to get out and vote, and I think Dr. Johnson made a good point on the few minutes that he was here, and y'all didn't get to see it because I'm sitting across from him, but he reached out and tapped me on the shoulder. So that's what we need to do is we need to. On election day, reach over there and tap somebody on the shoulder, one of your family or friends, and say, "Hey, need to go vote today."
Well, those are our people, and those are the people I'm talking about. Dr. Johnson made some good points, Neil. He talked about teaching civics in school. The first voter registration drive that I participated in was at Baton Rouge High School. A lot of folks don't know a kid can register to vote at 17. As long as he turns 18 prior to the first election he votes in. The civics teacher at Baton Rouge High School at that time allowed me to come into the school, set it up where we did voter registration for the high school seniors that were 17 years old. And it was a big success. We started out at Baton Rouge High School. We went to Capitol High School, Struma High School, and I think Lee High School. But it was done because there were civics classes in the school, and the civics teacher thought it important that his kids know that they could register to vote and were allowed to register.
Well,
Dr. Johnson is exactly right when he talks about the importance of civics in our schools.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Johnson is a wealth of knowledge, and again, he stressed on the importance of getting out and voting, and like you said, the listeners to this show and to this radio station, I really believe with my heart and soul that they do get out and vote, but I think. Again, when he reached over there and touched me on the shoulder, that's what he really means. Is not you don't need to just get out and vote yourself. You need to touch somebody to get out on that particular day and vote also.
And that's exactly right, Neil. If we've got our kids at home, don't let them lay down. Wake them up. Tell them it's time to go vote. We might have elderly parents, elderly neighbors that could possibly need a ride to the polls. Don't let them stay home because they didn't have a ride. Go knock on that door. Ask them if they need a ride. Take them to the polls.
Well, and Ernest, people are getting, if you watch TV, you get tired of seeing these commercials, the negative commercials that are coming on. And you just, again, we talked earlier about, like with the Mary's race coming in, all these commercials that are coming in, they're paid and bought for from people from out of state. And they're all negatives. And in this day and time, you can make up stuff. And like you were saying earlier, you can pick out little things that might misrepresent what she said at the end of the conversation, or what she meant. And you put those little filler pieces in there to make a negative commercial, we just got through doing a little deal for the UA, for our international. And Ernest, it was we spent 2 days going from different places, and they interviewed me for I guess 15, 20 minutes, and they did this little 7-minute introduction thing, and out of that 15, 20 minutes, and everybody on this, they interviewed for 15, 20 minutes. But this little 6-7 minute tape that they showed, I bet total time as far as what I was on there was, 20 seconds, 30 seconds max. But it takes a lot of time to get all the stuff prepared to do this. So, and you know how many speeches Mary gives and how many speeches other people give, and like I said, they take them out of context on a lot of these ads, and we need to forget about all this negative stuff and look at what Mary and Cedric and some of the other candidates have done for us, and we need to get them back in office.
Well, that's exactly right, Neil. And again, it's important that we get out and vote, and we vote for candidates that represent our interests, candidates that are concerned with what goes on here in the state of Louisiana, not just for those special interest groups, but for the everyday man and woman in this state. We're in a position that we can't afford to just go on business as usual. There's too much being left on the table, and we've got to do something to change that.
Oh yeah, and I keep bringing up Mary's race and Cedric's race, but we've got. I don't think there's too many people in Louisiana, and again, we talked at the beginning about Bobby Jindal running for president, and I just think that's I don't know. I just think it's funny, but anyhow, if we think he's bad, you've got the governor's race coming up next. That's going to be one of the big races coming up after this November election. And Vitter's already said that he's running. That's going to be Bobby Jindal on steroids.
We're doomed if we allow that to happen.
Yeah, but that's we've got. And who has been two of the opponents that are two people that have stood up to Bobby Jindal, and that's Cedric Richmond and Mary Landry, you know, and they have literally said, you know, what you are, a lot of the things that he's done, they've said is wrong, and but I mean it's you know, we don't need somebody that's going to be wishy-washy for something one day, and then you've got the right wing saying, no, we don't want to do that, and then they change their position on that, and I mean, all the different issues. And this election is very, very important. It's an important. It's not only important for the for Louisiana that we reelect these two candidates, well, really all the candidates, but it's important for the United States, Ernest. You know, because if we don't get our people back in office over there in D.C., you know, look at what Mary has done over the years as far as helping our coastal erosion, helping our men and women, working people here in Louisiana, get some pride and dignity back in the workforce.
Well, Mary is, I think, chairperson of the Energy Committee.
Yes.
And what are we all about here in Louisiana?
Hey, look at what all's coming. You know, look at all the work that we've been talking about for the past 6 months. You know, recruiting people to get in our apprenticeship programs and getting people ready for this big boom that's going to happen. You know, we need Mary to still be in office when all this is happening.
It's up to us to make that happen, Neil. We've got to get out and vote. We've got to take somebody with us. We've got to call and ask folks to get out and vote. And we've got to tell them that make up your own mind. Don't let these ads fool you, because they're designed to do that. Don't watch those commercials, those spots, and say, okay, he said she did this.
Yeah.
Know for yourself. Ask somebody if you've got questions, but get out and vote. And if you get out and vote, and you vote based on what you know to be fact, you'll make the right decision.
And we can make a difference. I want to stress that. We can make
We'll
a difference.
make a difference.
We'll make a difference. Well, Ernest, we're fixing to run out of time. We got about 3 minutes left. Again, I mean, you're not just a coworker. That you're a good friend of mine, and I appreciate you calling and getting up in the morning and being part of this. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the labor movement, and it means a lot to your biggest fan that's listening right now. She texted me Big E a while ago when you first got on, because she didn't know who I was having on. But anyhow, you know, I do appreciate.
You know, it's a privilege for me to be able to get up and do this with you this morning, because you know, you do this week after week after week, and folks don't know what it takes to get up. I mean, they don't realize that Neil Miller runs to Lake Charles like he runs around the corner in his weekday job.
Yeah.
So to take time away from your family and things that you could be doing on Saturday mornings that you missed out doing because you were out of town, it means a lot. So it's nothing for me to get up and talk with you on Saturday morning.
Well, I do appreciate it, and you know, we've made this show here the importance on getting out and voting, and I think we need to end it on that. It's very important for the listeners, our members, to look at the flyers you're going to be getting from your local union halls on the candidates that we have endorsed.